Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live webinar with Lisa Harris. Hi, Lisa. Great to see you.
Hi, how are you? It's nice to
Good,
see you
good.
too.
So today we have Transaction Desk and Authentisign 2.0. So it was a new facelift for them on the Authentisign side a while back, which is amazing. Great product. I know a bit about the product, but I'm not the one using it like Lisa is all the time. I love to teach my classes, but I would rather leave classes like this to the experts, which is are my realtors who are using the product in the field, because they can answer your questions. You get stumped on something, and I'd have to go check with tech support, and Lisa actually does help in tech support too. So
I do a little bit of everything.
yep. So we have 3 handouts in the side of the GoToWebinar panel. If that's collapsed, just go ahead and tap that little orange arrow and open it back up. Lisa will also let you know that the handouts are up in the MLS documents right there in Paragon. Go to my folder, the MIRS education, not the plain old education, because that's for all of our vendored MLSs, and they don't have all the good stuff that we do. So that's why you want to go to mine, the MIRS education, to get all those goodies. And so I am not going to be in the background today, but Lisa is going to launch a poll here. We just want to do a quick little question on, how long have you been in? Just, it helps Lisa teach the class a little bit. You guys want to go ahead and throw your vote out there? Don't worry, they are anonymous, so we're not going to be knowing that, oh, you're a newbie, or you've been in the business 10 years and you're still taking classes. Yes, you know that technology changes.
Yeah,
And
we
there's
all need
always,
classes.
yeah, and there's always something that you pick up in a class. All right, well, we have 75% voted, so you want to get and close the poll and share the results?
Perfect. So actually, so we've got 33. So actually, one person was less than 6 months. We have one person 1 to 5 years, and one that's more than 5 years. And then I could add to that last one more than 5 years. So
Nice, nice, nice. All right, well, don't forget to download those handouts. So they are always a huge help. Step-by-step instructions really help you, because when I needed to send something out for a signature, and I wasn't really sure how to do it, so I got the cheat sheet out, and guess what? I could do step-by-step instructions, and I did. I'm like, yay. So I was really happy to test the product out like that, and they work. Well, Lisa, have a great class today, and everybody who's attending, have a great class. Don't forget to ask those questions. Lisa will be here for you, and she'll be checking those questions as well. And then I will get it. It is, of course, being recorded. I'll get it edited, like all my chit chatter here in the front. I'll chop that right out, and we'll get it out on the YouTube channel before too long. All right. See you later, Lisa.
thanks, Deb. Have a good one. Okay, we are going to get started here. I was hoping, I know there's a few more still waiting to log on that I don't see on here yet, but we're going to go ahead and get started, and hopefully we can catch them up. So again, just like Debbie mentioned, we're going to go ahead and do Transaction Desk, and we're going to do Authentisign. Transaction Desk will help you go through all your forms, set up your clients, your buyers, your sellers, and then Authentisign will help you with your signing. We're going to start off in Paragon, and we're going to write an offer. So I'm going to show you, I'll give you my address. You can use any property you'd like, but this is one of my listings, and you can write an offer on anything you'd like. If you have something that you're currently working on, you can use that property address. And I'm going to show you going from Paragon directly into Authentisign. This is the way you want to go when you're writing an offer. Doing a listing is going to be another way, so we'll walk through that afterwards. Again, if you have questions, please just, if you want to type them in on the side here, I'll try to keep an eye on what Deb's on. She'll keep an eye on it as well. And then hopefully we can get you through this today. So I am going to turn off my camera real quick here, just so you can see my full screen. And let me just clean it up so you have a better view of my screen. So we are going to go ahead and start off in Paragon. So if you could open up your Paragon, please, and we're going to put in a property. If you have an address you want to work on, you need to write an offer on anyways. This is a great way to get your offer done. Type in the address here at the top in your power search. So I'm going to give you my property right now. It's pending, and it is 8401 18 Mile. and you are welcome to use that to write the offer onto. So again, whichever way you'd like to go, it will show up as pending. So let's see if this one came up. It's very touchy. This whenever you're dealing with numerical value for street names, I find it's sometimes harder to find. So let's see if I can get this to show up. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you the MLS number on it because it should be pending. There is another one listed in there. So here, I'll give you the MLS number. Probably easier to find it. I'm not quite sure why it wants to give me a problem here, but let's put this in here. So the MLS number is 501-12593. 501-12593. So then it should show up right underneath. It'll show it's pending. You click on it, full listing will open up for you. Once you have your full listing open, whichever one you're using, we're going to go ahead and look at our little icons or shortcuts. This is going to get us into Transaction Desk. So if you look on the Legacy Full Agent Report, they're going to be underneath your information here on the left. So you see all the little colored icons. If you are on Agent Detail with Map, should be in the center here. And we are looking for Transaction Desk. So it is going to be a blue square. It's toward the end, and it has these lines on it, and it'll say Start a Transaction when you hover over it. So what I need you to do is go ahead and click on that. And the reason we're doing this is going to pull the information from this listing into Transaction Desk and start to autofill forms and so forth for us as we go through the actual, we're going to walk through actually like a wizard that will take you through every step. The wizard is great to use because if your computer freezes, which I'm sure you've all dealt with that at one point or another, you will not lose anything to that point. So it will autosave for you. Okay, so when you go ahead and click on that, it's going to bring you to this screen. And the first option you have is a name, which it should pull up already, the property address. Below that, it says template. If you don't see a template box, don't worry. It just means that you don't have templates already set up through your office. I will show you at the end how to set these up. A template is just basically a folder that will put together the forms that are needed to create that transaction. So you can see I have a buyer package, a listing package, I have a lease package, vacant land. So whatever forms I need are in these packages. So this is going to be a purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and put in there buyer package. And underneath there, it's going to say my real source, import data, because it's pulling it right from the listing. It's going to show residential, and it's going to show the MLS number. At the bottom, make sure it says that you are the selling agent. That's what we're looking for. Okay, and it's going to say use wizard. Again, always keep this on. It's set by default to be on, but it's going to help you when you're walking through this. I use it all the time, even though I know the system well. At the top right corner, we're going to go ahead and select create. And it's going to just take a second here to load. Okay. Oops, I apologize here, that just went back. There it is. Okay. And once this loads, it will pull in the information on the property. Okay, so this is where it's going to put us. So you can see here, we have property information at the top. It's going to say wizard, and you're going to see a previous and next button. When you want to go back and forth through here while you're going through the wizard, you're going to select the next or previous. At the very bottom, it has a save and exit. Don't use this because it pulls you out of the wizard. So we want to stay within the previous and next if you need to go back for a reason. In here is going to give you details about the property so you can see what it pulled from the listing. There'll be things that aren't filled in, like property type is residential. And here we're going to go down further where it says listing information, purchase information. When we're doing a listing, you're going to use these exact same pages that we're going through. So you can see on the left is going to be for a listing, on the right is when you're writing an offer. So under purchase price, we want to type in our offer amount. We don't want to include any commas, no decimals. I have it listed $135,000. We will say, there's multiple offers. I make the offer at $145,000. Under purchase price is deposit. How much is your EMD? So we'll say my client's giving up $5,000 EMD. And the other thing that I'm going to fill in here, if you go down a little bit further, it says property includes and excludes on the left side. This should fill in on your contract, on your purchase agreement. So a lot of times I'll put in here purchase includes, and I'll put in here all appliances, or maybe they want the chandelier in the dining room. I can put in here chandelier in the dining room. And again, the idea of doing this is so it autofills the information on our contracts for us. Okay, so I have now put in my price, my EMD, and I'm going to go ahead and select next in the top right corner. We're only walking through 5 steps, so it's pretty simple. Okay, next is going to be our transaction dates. So if this was my listing, then listing date and expiration date would be important. But I am writing an offer, so I'm going to go down to closing date. And I'm going to say that I have a cash offer, so I'm going to say closing by the 30th. You'll notice when you select your closing date, possession date will be automatically the same. So if you're giving any type of occupancy, then you'll want to go in here and change that. Now, I do find possession date doesn't autofill on our contract, so you probably have to adjust that once you get to that point. Once you're done with your dates, you can put in here if you'd like an offer date. You can put an expiration date as well if you'd like. I do see these sometimes autofill in contracts, sometimes they don't. So again, it's going to be a kind of a trial and error for you if you haven't used this yet to see the contracts that you use, what is going to fill for you and what's not. When you're done, you're going to select next in the top right corner. Okay, so next step, contacts. It will automatically pull the listing broker and listing agent. Then it's going to add in the selling broker, which should be your office, and yourself as a selling agent. So you should see my office information and then yourself. We're going to add our buyers because now we are doing an offer. We need our buyers included. So if you look, there is a add and plus sign here in the top right. Whenever you need to add something in Transaction Desk, just look for that plus sign in the add button. So I'm going to select add. You have an option to add a new contact. So you're going to be creating someone from scratch. Add someone existing in your contacts. These are Transaction Desk contacts only. So it's not pulling your Paragon contacts. It's just your address book in here. You can add yourself or you can pull contacts from your Google. I'm going to start with the first one here. So we can go to create new transaction contact. So I can walk you through adding someone new. Anyone you want to include in this transaction can be added here. So if you want to include your title company, a mortgage company, you want to include your office in here so you can automatically send them things as well. You can also add a parent. Maybe it's a daughter buying a house. She wants her dad to review everything. An attorney's involved, add them. So right here at the top where it says type, if you click on that drop-down menu, you can see there's numerous options in here. So I'm going to go ahead and select buyer first. And I'm going to type in my buyer's first and last name. So I'm going to make mine up because I want to think it's one of my real clients. So I usually will put just a fake name in here. So Mr. Let's load it on here. I typically use all the time. Put loaded junior. How about that? And then email address, use your own email. So when we get to the point where we're doing the signing, you'll send the sign to yourself so you can walk through it. So it's easier for you to explain it to your clients when you've done it. So I'm going to use my email address. And below here where it says legal name, preferred signature, preferred initials, those are only used if the printed name is different than what your client's actually signing. So for example, I have a client who has an LLC. Everything he buys is under his LLC. So when I am typing this up, the first and last name is going to be his typed name under his signature lines. So in here, I'm going to go ahead and put in my client's LLC name. It doesn't matter what goes in each box. First and last name have to be filled in, so you just put one on each. And then for his legal name and preferred signature, this is where I'm going to put in, his actual name. Put in his, what he's signing, his preferred initials, whatever it might be. So that is the only time you'll use those. So if it's a LLC, it's a power of attorney, a trust, so anything of that sort, then that's where you're going to put that in. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to my fake name here. And we're going to save this. So at the top right corner, once you have them in, it will automatically add to your address book. I am going to remove him from my address book because I have a lot of these fake ones in here. So we're going to just keep him out of there. I'm going to hit save. And Mr. Buyer's here. Now there's Mrs. Buyer. I need to add her individually. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add again. Create new transaction contact. We're going to put in buyer's and Mrs. Buyer's name. Suspense at all. That's always a good one. My email address again. It's going to come back to me for signing. I'm going to remove her from my address book because she's there already. I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now I have Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer. They're both included in my transaction. When you're done, you're going to hit next, top right corner. Now we're getting into forms. So earlier when I said if you don't have templates, don't worry about it. It's not a problem. Templates, again, will take all the forms needed. My office created these, so you probably have, if you do have them, your office probably did them unless you did them yourself. And it will include any form that I could possibly need for a purchase. So I can see everything's in here. A lot of these items I won't use. I can always delete them. So you do have an option to remove them. You can also move these in whatever order you want. So I prefer to have like my buy and sell agreement at the top, my agency disclosure here, anything that I might need for this one, I will include more toward the top. So that way it's easy for me to get to. Say it's a condo, I'll probably need this closer and so forth. So you can move these up and down. And again, all I'm doing is left clicking and just adjusting them. If you don't have any forms, no problem. Excuse me, we're about to add them right now. So if you go to the top right, look for that plus sign in your ad, go ahead and select that. And if you look here, it's going to give you all the folders you have access to that have any type of forms. So it will have any association that you belong to. It will have your office. It should have your Michigan Realtors, which is your Michigan Association of Realtors. And it'll have the My Realsource forms. There's copyright forms. So again, there's going to be a ton of forms in here. If you see your office folder, go ahead and open that up. So just click on it. And you can go through here first and find what you need. So the two things that I would make sure you have in this transaction is your buy and sell agreement. And then if you want to do like your disclosure regarding agency relationship, you know, just a couple things to throw in here. So all you're doing is clicking to the right here to select it. It drops in your basket up here. And then you can find whatever one else you need. If you don't see what you need, you can always go back to the top. You can go back to individual forms and go to whatever folder you need. So if I go to Michigan Realtors, now I can find, say, disclosure regarding agency relationship, drop that in there, and then all you're doing is clicking add at the top right here. Okay, and once you do, it's going to add those to the bottom of your form. So if you do have forms here, they will be at the very bottom. If you don't have any, you should see the ones you just added. So just make sure you have a couple forms in there so we can kind of walk through these. So buy and sell agreement or purchase agreement would be good. And if you want to put your agency relationship disclosure, that would be good too. Okay, so once you have your forms, the last step is going to be documents. So we're going to go ahead and select next. And you should see, since I do belong to my Realsource, and I did upload all my documents that are involved in this transaction, which is my seller's disclosure, lead-based paint addendum, and my office always includes an appraisal gap addendum and escalation clause addendum. Those are in there. So they will automatically pull for you. If you are pulling a listing from any of the other MLSs, it does not automatically pull the documents in. So at that point, you're going to actually have to click on those, in which we don't want to do it right now because it will actually take you out of Transaction Desk, but you'll go into your documents, just so I can show you real quick. You're going to click on each of these to save them on your desktop somewhere. And then at this point, we're going to add. So go ahead and select the add. I'll walk you through adding. So if you click add with the plus sign, and you can see here in the section in the blue, it says drag and drop files. You can either open up a folder and drag and drop them in here. I find it's usually easier for a lot of agents just to click in this box and let it search your computer. So now you're going to go wherever it could possibly be. I'm going to search in here and go seller disclosure, and I'm sure I have a million of them in here. So here's 6 of them here. We'll just drop those in, and then I'm going to click on them. Now, if there's multiple, you hold your control button. I can select, here's a disclosure, say I want this one. All I'm doing is holding control and clicking on them and then hit open. It will add multiple at the same time. So for this example, we're just going to open the one, select open, and it's going to upload that right into your documents. So if you have documents already, which you should have the 2 that I have or the 4 that I have, it will be at the very bottom. So you can see it pulls them in right from there. There is a trash button to the right. If you don't need it, you can get rid of it. Okay, so actually I will get rid of those disclosures so I don't have an overabundance. I'm gonna hit yes. And we are done with our wizard. So you can see there's a done button here at the top. Go ahead and select done. And it is now going to take you back to your dashboard. So automatically pushes you back to your dashboard here. Okay, so let me show you what is in your dashboard and kind of show you how to get to all your folders real quick here. And then we're gonna finish filling out our form. So if you look to the right of your screen, you should have, if it didn't minimize it, you should have all the folders involved in this transaction. So everything on the right is always part of the transaction. On the left, you have icons. These are part of the system. So these are going to be your overall items in Transaction Desk. These are just for 18 Mile. So if you notice here at the top wizard, if you accidentally hit save and exit and you want to get back to the wizard, just click on it right from here. The dashboard is what we're viewing right now. The details, so details, contacts, forms, and documents, these were all the steps we went through in the wizard. So they're all right here for you. So if you come back later and you need to just adjust one thing, you can go ahead and click in that folder and make your changes, whatever is needed from there. But let's start off right now in our forms. So I'm going to take you into forms. So the ones that we've added, and we're going to open up our forms now to edit. So we've added the forms that we needed, but we need to now fill them in because only some things autofill, not everything. So go ahead and select your buy and sell agreement or purchase agreement. And we're going to take it into it's called the form editor. And I'm going to walk you through all these icons. There's quite a few here. Okay, so once it loads, you'll see all these lightly shaded gray areas, bluish areas. That means these are areas that you can actually type into and adjust. So I'm going to click my first one here and put my office. And you can see it should have for listing broker information, your selling broker information. As you scroll through it, you should be able to see all of the legal description, property address. If you included anything like I did all appliances, those dropped in here. If excluded, it should show up in here. Your price should show up. EMD should show up. And let's see here. Possession, it did not come through. So those are things I'm going to have to fill in. And I think that's about it. So you can see that there's still quite a few areas. Oh, my closing date did pop in too. So there's quite a few areas still need to be filled in. My clients' names did show up. They are typed in here, which is great. So at this point, if I was doing a real purchase agreement, I would go in here and continue filling in whatever's missing. When you're done filling that out, you go to the top here and you go to File, Save, and Save. Very first one only. Save as PDF is going to download this as a PDF copy, which the only time you'll need to do that is if you're actually meeting with your client and you want to take some printed copies for them to sign. Then you can save them as a PDF and it'll save a copy for you right on your desktop. But I'm going to go ahead and hit save and save again. Okay, so let's walk through these icons real quick so I can explain them to you. First one under File, option is New. If I'm missing a form that I forgot to add in here, if you go to New, this goes back to your folders where you can add in additional forms. So now I can go back to my office folder and grab whatever I need. And all I'm doing is just clicking on the boxes again. They go in your basket, you select OK, drops them onto your page. I'm going to go ahead and close this on the top left. Under File again, if you go to Open Form, this allows you to select the next form that you already have included in your transaction. So if I'm done with my buy and sell agreement and I want to go to my agency relationship, I can click on that. So all it's going to do is going to load each one for me. So I can edit the next one, save it, and then go on and then move on to the next. So that's all these are going to do for me. So I'm going to File, Save, Save again, and then I can go back to my additional forms from here and select whatever one I want. I'm going to keep my purchase agreement up because there's some other things I want to show you in here, so I need the extra pages. Under File, if you go under Save again, that will allow you to save it right into the transaction, just saving whatever change you did. But it does keep it as an open form, so that means you can come back and edit it anytime. I can also save as a PDF. I can make a copy of this. I use this when I'm using an addendum. Sometimes I have to write multiple addendums during a transaction. So instead of having to rewrite them every time, I like using to copy because then it has my my offer date on there, or my contract date, because that always has to be included on some of the forms, and it fills in the property address. So to me, a lot of times I'll use that and then just delete whatever I have in there, and and change it to whatever is needed. So I do use the copy button. Erase, be careful with this. It will erase all the pages. That means it's going to erase all the information filled in. Under File as well, you have an option for a watermark. So maybe if I want to send this to my client's father or the attorney to review for a trust, I might want to put in here draft, and then I can email these to them so they can view it. But just make sure that when you're done with the watermark, you go back to File, back to Watermark, and select Remove at the bottom here. So Watermark and Remove. Okay. Under File again, you can print. Now, when you are printing, it's only printing what you're viewing, so it's only going to print my purchase agreement. And then under Print, there's a Send button, so I can send to email, I can send to fax, to documents. So if I want to send this somewhere else, I can. You can also mark up the documents, so it makes it a PDF, and then I can make changes on there from there as well. There's a Help button and Save and Exit. Save and Exit takes you out of the form editor. Okay, we go back to the top. For fonts, you have an option for the different style fonts here. You can change the color, the size, and then you can make them all uppercase, lowercase, or both. So be cautious with these, because whatever you're doing here, it's doing it for all the pages. So it's not like I can select one section here and do it. It's going to switch it for everything. But I had an agent tell me that they were a newer agent, that they would always put everything they're typing in red first, so they can make sure they would fill everything in and they don't miss anything, and then they send it to their client. But again, if you don't change that back to black, they're going to get it. It's going to be all red type. So again, just make sure you adjust it again if you need to. To the right of fonts, I have clause. You may not have clause. So if you don't have clauses set up, whether your office did it or you did it in a class before, then you won't see this button. What a clause is something that you use over and over again when you're doing these transactions. So if I want to include a clause, I have to go into a section that has multiple lines. So for example, at the end, where I have other terms and conditions, I have to click in here, and then you can see here an add clause pops up. You can click here as well. So if I click on that, it will give me the option for personal office clauses. Let's see if the office has any. They do. So if your office has any created, you can use one of those. And all you have to do is select whichever one you want and hit OK. It drops it in for you. Usually for my clauses, mine are a little more detailed. So I'm going to go back to Add Clause. I'm going to go to my personal ones that I've created. And at the end, hopefully we have some time, I can show you how to do these. I'm going to select appliances, we'll do concessions, we'll throw an EMD and a septic, just so you can see. So I hit OK. Now you can see all of them came in. So I like having one with all of my information for my appliances. I always include a zero value because I've had that sent back to me by underwriters. They always want zero value in an addendum, so I just throw it in there now. I like including one for concessions, what I want included. So now all I do is I add in 3% for concessions. If you have an EMD, you're doing it after, seller's acceptance or whatever it might be, you can include these here. So those are your clauses. To the right of clauses is transaction forms. This is just the forms that you've included. So if you hit transaction forms again, everything you've included is right here. You select whichever ones you want, and it will move to the next one for you. To the right of transaction forms, there's a book. This just moves the pages. So I'm on the last page right now. If I want to go back to page 1, just click on it, and it just scrolls back to the top for you. That's all it is. The magnifier will make your page bigger or smaller. So if you're having a hard time viewing it, you can zoom in, zoom out. You can also use these arrows and it makes it as wide as your page or as tall as your page. So again, that gives you a few options here. To the right of that is your markup tools. So I'm going to walk through these markup tools for you real quick. So the markup tools allows you to make changes to your contracts, and especially areas that maybe there's a counter offer. You'll find you'll use these a lot more. So for me, for example, as a listing agent, if you sent me your offer and my client wants to counter it, I go through the markup a lot of times if the agent's going to not rewrite them, and we'll just mark them up from here. So the options that you have here, first thing is going to be your strikeout tool. So what the strikeout tool does is it actually puts a line through any areas you don't want in your contract. So let me just go through here and we'll just throw some lines in here. So you click on it, and let's go over here for the home warranty. So if my seller says, nope, I'm not paying for that warranty, I'm going to left click, and I'm going to drag it. It's going to make a nice, pretty line for you. It's straight. And then if you click on the line and you right click on it, I have an option to make that line thicker. I also have an option to change the color of it. Okay, so that is your first markup tool, which is your strikeout. The next one you have is a line, and the line is going to just draw lines for you, just kind of the same thing as the other one. The only problem with the line, or not so much a problem, you might need to use it in a different direction, is that you have to make it straight. So for example, if I want to make a line through here to make an X, I can. You just click it this way, and then I can go back to my markup tool, do a line tool this way, and now I can just put a big X through my whole paragraph. So that's what that does, which is sometimes a little better if you're trying to get rid of a whole paragraph instead of going line by line. Just keep in mind when your client's signing, make sure you have initials by any changes you've made. Again, when you left click on this, I can right click. I can make those lines nice and thick if I want. And you gotta right click on each one because there's 2 of them. And then I can change the color. And I gotta click on this one, same thing. Oops, let's see, this one's on top of that one. So I'm gonna have to go this way, right click, make it yellow, and change my thickness. There we go. So again, that's what your line tool does. Next thing under your markup tools at the top, you can highlight. So if I want to highlight something in here that I want to make sure my client sees, or the listing agent sees when I send that offer in, this is where you're going to use that. So let's say maybe special assessment. So all you're going to do is you're going to left click, drag it, and you're going to bring it over here. Now I can left click, right click on it. I can change the color. And let's say we want to go, use all the different colors here for you. Gray, let's gray it out. If we want to change the opacity, so that's going to be the shading, like how dark you want it. So if you want to do, let's say, the higher it is, obviously the darker it is, completely covers it. So again, if you're covering things or highlighting things, obviously you want to make sure that it's still legible underneath. So I did a 40% shade, 20% shade, so just depending how light you want it. Under your markup tools again, there's the redact. So redact actually kind of does like the line tool does, where it puts it, crosses out a section, but it's actually putting stars through the whole place. So let's say, let's say that there is something here I want to remove. Okay, so there's no well and septic. We want to just remove that right off of here. Left click, drag it, and you've got all these pretty stars all over your page. Now, the only problem with redact I find is that it's harder to read what's underneath it. So if it's really covered, it might be not as easy to read. But again, it's another way to cover up an area. Again, left click, right click. This only allows you to delete it. There's no other options for this one. Okay, so next we go back up to our markup tool and annotate. So annotate tools allows you to type where there's an area that you normally can't type in. So for example, if I want to add something in here and there's no option for me to type it, then this is where it will let me do that. So let me go into an area where I want to type something. Maybe there's, let's say, we want to put something in here at the very top here. Let's go back over here. For example, private road. Where's my private road at? I had one the other day with private. It has actually private roads. So if I want to add something about that, here it is. So if I want to add something in here, I would just left click. Now I can type in whatever I need actually in my contract. So for this private road, I can put on here, property is located on a private road maintained by the owners. I'm always learning something. I'll have to tell you, I haven't really dealt with a lot of private road ones where it was kicked back through from the underwriter. So we actually had to have the sellers write a letter explaining how that road is maintained. And they actually had to have the buyers buy that so they are fully aware that they have to maintain that road. And so they're not holding the lender liable. Property is located on a private road maintained by the owners. So something of this sort. So now I've got if you noticed earlier, actually, as I was doing this, when you click on it, you have these squares. So now I can resize it whatever way I want. I can move this up and down wherever I need it. I can change the size of the font. So if you right click on this, If you notice it says transparent, if I make it white, I can actually cover a whole area. So if you get a counter offer on your listing and your client needs to change, if you want to change the price on it, you could always type it on here, make it white, put it on top of the price, and then get initials next to it. But I can go back to my transparent. I can change the font. There's only a couple of changes, not many options there. I usually just help let it go. Font size. So right now it is 8 point, which is a little bit bigger, so you can see it. It's black. I can make it red. I can make it bold. I can make it italic. So again, you have a couple of different options here. And just like anything else, make sure you get your client's initials by that so that you notice the change you've made. Okay, so I believe that is it. Otherwise, you can clear all, which I'm not going to. I'm going to just leave everything on here so you can see how it goes. You know, it goes to my client, what it looks like. It's a little bit of a disaster here, but that's okay. And we are good. So I'm done with my markup tools. To the right of that is a pen. That's for Authentisign, which we'll be doing shortly, but I want to show you a few more things. And then the last option is save and exit. So from here, if you hit save and exit, it will take you out of your form editor right back into your form folder now. So now we're back where we were. So I'm going to show you now the options you have in each one of these forms. Once you're out of the wizard, you have more options individually for these forms as well as selecting a bunch. So the first thing is going to be if you go to the right, like in my buy and sell agreement, there's 3 dots here. That's your menu. If you can preview it, so I can look to make sure it's the correct one. So when you're adding those, and if you're not sure if this is the right one I selected, you can always preview it. You also have an option to download it, which will save as a PDF on your computer. I can delete it. I can rename it. I use this frequently, especially if I have multiple purchase agreements because there were counteroffers and changes. So a lot of times I'll rename it as, final purchase agreement or bottom line to PA, just so I know what it is. So when I go back in to grab it, I know which one I'm grabbing. Edit form takes you back to your form editor. I can send this again to an email. I can fax it. I can print it, whatever I need to. You can copy and move it. So I can make a copy of it. I can move it into another transaction folder. We can do a slice and markup tool that will actually slice the pages. We walk through the markup tools. It can send it to Authentisign right from here. And you can do the history. History will show you everything you've done from the minute you started this transaction to now, if any change has been done to that specific contract. So right now, nothing's been done to it yet. Okay, so that is your menu for individually for the forms. Now, if I need to do something for multiple, so for example, I just filled out my forms. I'm going to meet with my client. I need to print them. Well, I don't want to go one by one. It's going to take me forever. So I'm going to select every form that I need. I'm going to go into my basket. And now you've got options here. You can sign it from here. You can copy it. I can download as a zip file. If you're downloading a zip, it's going to reduce the size of it. But if you send it to someone, make sure they can unzip it. I can print it right from here. Now you can see all my forms are here and I can send it right to the printer. I can also save it all as a PDF. I can email it right from here. I can fax it. It does work. I've tested it. So be careful if you're going to play with the fax and you want to test it, just do one page, because I was at an office testing it and there was like 20 pages coming through. And I can delete them all. So those are your options. So again, if you're selecting multiple, they always go into the basket and then you click on your basket for your options. All right, so that's for your forms. Let's look at your other options here on the right. Let's go back through these sections. We did the wizard already. The dashboard, go ahead and click dashboard. That's going to take you back to the main page of that transaction. And you'll notice all these boxes. These are just shortcuts for what you're seeing here on the right. So you can only have so many that are here on your dashboard. So you'll notice that everything else that you need is in here. So whichever way you need to get to any of these, you go to documents right from here, forms right from here, or go to your right. Under your dashboard is details. So now we're going back into the sections that we walked through the wizard. So this was the first section we were in. This is where we put in our purchase price and our deposits and also the appliances. If you want to make a change, you can. Some of them will have a save, some don't. So after your details, you can go to contacts. And again, your buyers are in here, listing and selling side are in here. If you go to add, you can always add more. Okay. Under your contacts is your forms. So again, those are the forms that you'll be filling out. So anytime you need another form, you can come back in here. If you want to remove a form, your menu now, again, was just like I showed you earlier, has all those other options. So if you need to do something else to them, you can right from here. Under forms, you have signings. So once you start creating a signing in here, it's going to show up in here. You have documents. Those are the PDFs that were uploaded. So anything that automatically uploaded for you, your disclosures, or anything you upload. I can include my pre-approval letter. I can include anything else that I want, maybe proof of funds, because it's cash offer. Whatever you want to be part of this transaction, you can upload right in here. And again, it's just the add button, just like we were looking at earlier. Okay, so under there is checklist. So in here, you can add checklist items. My office uses a system as well. So our front desk staff uses this to keep track of our transaction. This is where our pending docs go and so forth. So you're going to see a lot of things in here. I don't do this. This is all by my office. But you can create your own checklist items, things that you want to make sure you include. Tasks, if you need to set up a task to remind yourself, for example, set up inspection and give yourself a date and time. You can do that by selecting add, naming it. So I'll put on here schedule inspection, and you can put a description if you want. You can put a due date. So do you want a specific date and time? I can put in whatever date it would be due. Say I only have 4 days, say the 13th. I can set up whatever time, and I may want to send myself a reminder. So you can do 15 minutes before, an hour before, a day before, a week before. So it'll send you reminders. If you have a team, you can actually add your team members in here and share with your team any of these reminders. Okay, I'm going to close this out. And if you go to the right again, you have your call logs. And these are great, again, for like teams that are working together, assistants. You can keep track of any call made to the client, what the caller was, what the subject was, what the message was, or information. Service orders, this allows you to add in additional companies that you're dealing with. So maybe I want to add my appraiser, the attorney, inspector. You can add them in here as well. Close that out. And history. So this is going to give us everything we've done to this point. So you'll be able to see that you have done quite a bit since we've started our transaction. This is great if you end up emailing something out and you're not sure if it went out to your client or where you sent it. You can always go back to the right here, and this I will give you more information about what you did. So if you sent an email, it will show you the email address it was sent to. So I have used this before. Under history, there's information about home warranties. So again, these are going to give you additional providers that you can use. I'm not quite sure if you'll need any of this. Title order, same thing, marketplace, and advertising. Again, some of this is additional fees or additional companies that you can deal with. And that's it. So that is everything associated with my 18-mile road transaction that we're looking at right now. So that is all we would do here, and this is basically done. So at this point, you would be able to do your signing with this and move forward from there. So is there any questions to this point? Hopefully I didn't go too fast, or I missed anybody asking a question. Nope, I don't see anything here. Just checking my, yep, I don't see anything. So it looks like we're doing okay. So we can keep on going. So we are done with our transaction here. This is all set. So we can now go into our listing side of it. So I'm going to actually close out my transaction desk, and now I'm going to show you creating a listing that's not in Paragon. So you can start from scratch and create your own. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll go into Authentisign after. So let us go back to your tab here. I'm going to close it out. I'm going to go right back to my Paragon. So if you go back up here, I'm now going to search for my link, which is under resources, to get me into Transaction Desk. So all you need to do is go back to Paragon. If it logged you out, just go ahead and log back in. Let's go into resources, and I just want to show you what your view is and show you how to navigate from here. So if you go into resources, go down to Transaction Desk, that is going to give you your dashboard right here for Transaction Desk. So everything's going to be here. So you should notice the last one we just did should be in here. And you'll see on here shortcuts to create a transaction, start assigning, document upload. Transactions will be in a folder. Every time you click on a listing to create a transaction, it will create a folder automatically for you. And you'll see those under transactions. Anytime you do assigning, they show up here. I got my forms here, my documents. And then on the left side of my screen, there's all kinds of icons, which we'll walk through next. But I'm going to go ahead and get you through the listing side. So to do a listing now, it's never been listed before. We're going to start a new transaction. We're going to create transaction here at the top. Select create transaction. You're going to name your transaction. So usually I will put on there, you know, whatever the property address is, but I'm going to put on here last test so I know that this is not an actual folder that I'm using. It's not one of my actual transactions. And then again, same section that we looked at before, template. Now I'm looking for a listing package. Where am I pulling the information? So I'm going to select source. I'm going to go realist, because now I'm going to pull tax records. We're not going to pull from Paragon, because even if this was listed before, whoever the agent was, maybe it might be incorrect information. It may not have been updated. We're always going to pull from tax records. We're going to select the county. So we're going to pull something from Macomb County. So let's do that. Perfect. And it's going to ask you for a tax ID number. So most likely you're not going to know this, because I never know the tax ID number. So you're going to actually search it. So you're going to be able to go and search whatever property address you need. I actually have a listing I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I think I'm going to actually search that one and try to do that. Let me see if I have the address offhand here. So I can pull it. And so you can use your own property. If you have a listing you're going to be doing, you can go ahead and use that. If you want to use my listing that I had, the 88401 18 mile, you're welcome to use that. The idea is to put in the property address, just a numeric value, and then the street name only. Don't use road, don't use avenue, lane, any of that, because what happens is it won't find it. It has to be identical to tax records. If it's not identical to tax records, it is going to tell you an error. So you're not going to find it. So I would go ahead and do that. Let's see, actually, let me see if I can find this property, because I'm not finding our address right now. I can try to do that. So put in a street number. And here, I'm just going to pull up this other property that's listed by hers. This one I think is already listed, so I'll just use this for the example. Okay, so you're going to search tax records and see if it finds it. So this finds the owners. This is a property that's already listed that's close to hers. I just dropped that in there. You're going to hit this and hit select. So, and it should say listing agent and use wizard, and then go ahead and create it. Okay. And once this creates, it should open up your folder now. You'll be back in the wizard. Same 5 steps we did earlier. So I'm going to kind of go through this briefly, because I don't want to run out of time. There's a lot more I want to show you. So we're going to kind of zip through some of these. There's a couple of things here I want to show you. So let's kind of walk through these pretty quick. As far as this first section, I'll just put in my list price. So we will say 300. And list date will be on the next page. So we'll hit next. Property type is actually residential. Make sure that's in there. And hit next. List date, so we'll pretend we're listing it tomorrow. Expiration date, so whatever timing you want on that. And then we can go ahead and hit next. Now for your contacts, it usually pulls tax records and it pulls the information from there. I am noticing that I keep seeing this edit lately. So I'm not sure if it's having a problem reading the name of the sellers here and it's not pulling that information because I'm getting nothing. So I need to report this and find out exactly what's going on, or if it just doesn't have that information in tax records, but typically it does. So I'm going to put on here just Mr. Seller, and then we will put my email address as well, because I'm going to send this to myself to show you something on this as well. And I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to add Mrs. Seller as well. Create new, just like we did before. Always hit that plus and add sign. Now I'm looking for my seller. So I do Mrs. Seller and my email address as well. Okay, once I have that, I'm going to save that. So now I have myself, my office, and my sellers in here. I'm going to select next. And this is the part that's going to be important. I'm going to show you two things here when you're doing a listing. And the reason, one of the ones that I used that actually saved me, I had a client that had a condo here. He also had a place in Arizona. He was in Arizona, no printer, no scanner, no way for him to print things for me and scan and send it back to me after he fills it out. Well, I'm not filling out somebody's seller's disclosure. They need to fill that out themselves. So there's a way here that you can send the seller's disclosure and your client can fill it out right online and save it, and you'll have all that information. So I'm going to walk you through that. So please make sure you have your seller's disclosure statement and you have also your data sheet for My Real Source. I'm going to show you also something you can do in there for a shortcut. So if you don't have them, it's no problem. Go ahead and hit your add sign and go ahead and add. I'm going to go to My Real Source forms and I'm going to pull my data sheet first. So I'm going to go to my data sheet, residential condo, select that. And then I'm going to go back up and hit back to individual forms. And now I'm going to go to my seller's disclosure, which I think Michigan Realtors has it as well. I can go to seller's disclosure here. Let's make sure they have that. Seller's disclosure statement right here. Okay, so you should see two in your basket and you're going to hit add. You also have a search button here. So instead of having to do what I am, I just know where they're at. So that's why I'm finding them. But if you're not sure where to find something and you need it, you can just do seller. And there it is, and then go through and find all your seller's disclosure. So it will pull each one and tell you which folder it's in. So again, whatever folders you have access to, it should show up. And then you can select what you need. I'm going to hit add. Should drop them at the bottom here. There they are. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit next. Documents, you won't have any in here because now you're doing a listing. So I'm filling the seller disclosure lead-based paint. So this should be empty unless there's something specific you want to include. Maybe it's a trust and you want to include the documents for the trust or a power of attorney, whatever it might be. I'm going to select done and we should be set. So it takes us back to our dashboard. So we're going to go into our forms now and I'm going to show you the two little shortcuts with those forms. So we're going to start off in forms. First thing is let's do our data sheet. So what the data sheet, and this is what I do with all my listings, is I will come in here and fill out my data sheet, as much information as I possibly can get. Then I go meet with my client, and especially, if I'm meeting with them, they're signing, it's fine too, but I get all the rest of the information that I'm missing. Then I come back and I finish filling this out. And the reason I do this is because I can take this data sheet with whatever information I have in it, and I can upload this listing right into Paragon as a partial, and then I can finish it. This is going to save you a ton of time, whether you do those and put your listings in or whether your office does. Because if my front desk staff is doing this and they're filling it in and they're typing it in, I'm going to have to go back through and make sure there's no typos. But by doing this, I can make sure everything is correct, send it there, and then your front desk staff can pull your partial. So here's what we're going to do is we're going to fill a few things here that are mandatory so I can push this so I can show you how it works. We're not going to do everything, but again, the idea is to fill in as much as possible when you're actually really doing this. So I need to fill in this second section here where it says all required. So it's a sale, single family. My price is already in here. Listing, the expiration date is in here, so that's good. I also need to go down to the location information. It has to have all this filled in. So I've got Macomb County. I need school district, which I believe is Warrenton Schools. So, and you can start typing it in too for it to find it, but Warren Consolidated Schools. My area is missing here, so I want to put in here Sterling Heights. It is a city, and I don't think the cross streets are mandatory, but it's all this other stuff. Okay, so I have quite a bit in here that should help me push this over. So I just want to show you how this works. So as long as you have the first section, which it should automatically pull for you, this second section, all required, and then if you skip down over to the fourth section here in the location information, I think it's enough to get you over. If it doesn't, it'll give you an error and you'll know. But if you look here at the top, and this is the only form that you will see this button, is this upload listing. So I'm going to select upload listing. It is going to take a couple minutes for it to upload it. And once it does, it will tell you it's been done. So you'll know it's actually worked or not. If yours worked, you should see this. So this listing, it will give me a partial number, was successfully sent to the MLS system. So now I'm going to show you where it went. So if you go into Paragon, and you go under listings, maintain partials, and you're going to select that your listings. You're going to hit search, and there it is. So from here, what I would do next is I select an action here all the way to the right, and I'm going to maintain my full listing. So another button, a page will open up. It'll say, what would you like to do? I'm going to maintain my partial because now I need to fill in whatever, make sure there's nothing missing. If you fill in everything on your data sheet, including your remarks, the only thing you'll have left here is your status. You'll have to add your photos, add your disclosures, and pretty much everything else will be in here. But you can see all that information pulled in. Here's all my location and property information. So again, this is a huge time saver. And then also please make sure you validate your map. I've had agents call when I help with tech support, and they try to search their listing by the map and nothing's pulling up, and it's because they haven't validated. So whenever you do a listing, make sure you hit validate map. And in order to make sure it's the right house, change it here on the top left to aerial view, and then just zoom in as close as you can get, because this will allow you to see the top of it. You can kind of see how far it is from the street. Is this the correct house or not? And then you'll know. And then if it's not, if you left click, I can move this balloon wherever I need to. So if it's way too far back in the bushes here, I want to drop it up here in the trees, wherever it is, I can move it. It creates a new latitude, longitude. And then when an agent draws that map, your property will pull up. Just want to make sure you hit apply, and it saves that for you. So again, this is everything in here is required. It has to be in here before you make it live. So don't worry, it's not going to go directly live from Transaction Desk. You still have to add in whatever's missing. Okay, so that's the first one. Now I'm going to go back into Transaction Desk up here at the top. I'm going to close this out, and let's do a seller's disclosure. So I am going to go to seller's disclosures. So I'm going to pull in and go to transaction forms and just pull my seller disclosure here. And let's see, here it is, seller's disclosure statement. Should load that for me. Here it is. Okay, so now I'm going to email this to my client, but there's a couple things here you have to turn on in order for it to work. So if you go to the top here, you're going to go to File, you're going to hit Send, and you can do this from two different places. You can do it from where I'm going here. You can also do it just from that folder that has all your forms in it. I'm going to send an email. It's going to ask me again which form. So the only form I want to include is my seller's disclosure, because if I include anything else, I'm about to open this up as an open form for them. They're going to be able to fill it out. So if I included everything else in this transaction, your client can adjust your forms. So if you don't want them messing with your forms, which I don't want them messing with mine, I just send just seller's disclosure. So that's the only thing I selected. You hit OK. And I would suggest sending this to yourself. I'm going to send it to me, and then I will walk through it to show you how it works. So you're going to put in email address. You do have this little contact card, so this will open up your contacts in here. So if I want to include myself, a listing agent, I can just drop it in that way and select. And here is the changes you have to make in order for this to work. It has to be a link. That's the first thing, because as an attachment, it's a PDF. It's not going to be open. You have to allow editing of forms. If you don't allow editing of forms, they're not going to be able to do anything with it. I always set an expiration date. And the reason being is that if my client fills out the seller's disclosure and then I have this property listed, and a month from now he goes in there and makes changes to it, it's going to be a problem. So I usually give them like a week or so to fill it in, whatever timing you want to give them, and put an expiration date. Now I'm going to send this, and I'm going to open up my email. I'm going to show you how this worked. So give me a second here. And I'm going to go into my email, and hopefully this loaded pretty quick here. And there it is. Okay, actually it's not in here, so let's try to refresh it. And it's loading, so it should be coming. Is it in here? Oh, there it is. And something came after, that's why it threw me off. Looks like Debbie sent in for market stats. So this one, Transaction Desk document sent from Elizabeth Harrison, that is the document. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. And you're gonna see here in the message, it is basically telling them that I sent it. It's the name of the transaction, which I named a class test, so I knew what it was. You can download these documents by clicking here. So we'll download to open it up for you. So what I'm really doing here is I've just given my client a link that's going to go into Transaction Desk, log him into my account, and take him to seller's disclosure. So they're really going into my login and filling this out. So I'm going to click on it to show you. Okay, so when this comes in, you should see it's the lighted shaded areas. So those means that I can fill that information in now. So right here, you can see if I click on it, they can fill it in. So now they're going to come in here and you're going to tell them, go ahead and fill everything in, and answer the questions. And I always explain to them that no means it doesn't work, and not available is that you don't have it, because I find that that's one thing that a lot of my clients make the mistake, and they put no thinking that means no, they don't have it, but it means it isn't operating. So again, you want to make sure that they go here and select everything that is working, whatever's not working. Let's do this here. So not available, yes, this works, not available. And I'm just gonna whip through a few of these real quick just because I wanna show you what it looks like when you open it. That works, that works, plumbing works, okay. And then they're gonna go down. So right here where it says property conditions, first thing basement, is there been evidence of water? So let's say there has been. And I'm going to put in here, so stopped working, has been replaced. Okay, whatever the explanation is. And then they're going to fill in the rest of them, whatever it might be. And then septic heating system, 30 years old, whatever. Okay, so now that they're done, you're going to explain this to them too. And this is why I said if you want to do it yourself too, it's good, because then you can walk through it and it's easier for you to explain. You're going to tell them that all they have to do when they're done, they can print a copy if they'd like, but they're going to save it, and they can save as a PDF too and download it to their actual laptop. But they're just going to save, because all they're doing is they're saving, and they're going to save and exit. And that way, I, myself as the agent, I can now get in there and take a look at what they did. So I'm going to close this out completely. I am going to go back to my transaction desk over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit from here. And I'm going to, I might have to refresh this, but let me see. I'm going to log back into my, I'm going to click back on my forms and see if it'll refresh it. I have to go, let me go dashboard first, just to take the changes that have been done. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into my forms. I'm going to open up the seller's disclosure statement and make sure everything's filled out. So I always have them do this first before I send them their listing package to sign, because now I can include this with the listing and they can sign this as well. And make sure you tell them when they're doing this, they cannot sign at the same time. Mine always want to sign it and they're like, I couldn't sign it though. I filled it out, but I couldn't sign. I can't figure out how to sign. So I always have to remind them that you can't sign it, you're just filling it out, and then we'll add in the rest. But you can see here are the answers. So everything's filled out, so they're done. So those again are the two things that are great shortcuts when you're doing listings. So I'm going to go ahead and save and exit. And then we'll just go back into the wizard. I think we already walked through everything. Yeah, so we walked through everything. So we're good. So that's basically it. So that is your listing. Again, listing and selling, you're always walking through the same steps in the wizard, the same sections. You're looking at the same pages. The difference is going to be your forms are going to be different, obviously. Documents will be different, whatever you're uploading, and your contacts. You want to make sure you have the correct contacts involved. So that is everything with Transaction Desk. There's quite a bit more, but I know you're overloaded and I want to get you through Authentisign without completely confusing you. So let's go into Authentisign next, but is there any questions or something that I showed you that I went over too fast you'd like me to show you again, or something I might have missed? Please let me know. I'm just going to look real quick to see. If you type in a question or a chat, I can double check real quick, and then we can, and then we'll move on to Authentisign. Okay, I'm not really seeing anything come in. You can also raise your hand if you want to ask a question. You click on that, I will unmute you, and you can ask a question. But if everybody is good, then we can move into Authentisign next. And please, if you haven't downloaded those handouts, download those, because after we finish today, you're going to be completely overwhelmed if you haven't used this before. So you sit down while you're watching TV and just run through and do some fake, offers, some listings, whatever it is, but play with it, because honestly, the more you do, the easier this is going to get for you. Okay, so let us move on now. We are going to go into Authentisign. So I'm going to go back into my other transaction, and actually before we do, I can, or no, let's just go in there first and I'll do the other stuff after, because I'm going to show you how to do clauses and templates. I'm hoping I have time for that. So let's go to the left side of your screen. I'm going to show you how to get back to the transaction we did earlier, and we'll use that for our signing. So if you go back to the left, the way we had the folders here on the right, so if you look here on the left, it will minimize as well. You'll see icons, but if you click on the 3 lines at the top, that'll open it up for you, and it shows you what each icon is. So dashboard, again, is the main page of Transaction Desk. And if I want to just go to my transactions, they're right here. And now I can open up my 8401. So let's see which one it is, because yeah, it's got to be here. Because I have my real one that we're about to close, and I don't want to mess with that folder. So let me go to this one. Should be my 18 mile right here. So I'm going to just click on it to open it up. There's the transaction. Let me see my contacts. Let me see my yep, this is it. Okay. So once you get in here, we're going to go to our signings folder. Now, the nice thing now with Transaction Desk and Authentisign, they're all in the same place. We used to have to, when you're done with Transaction Desk, go into another site to get to it, but it's all here. So it's right in your folders on the right. So again, if this is closed, all you're going to do is open this up and go to signings, or if you have them on your main page, you can go there from as well. But click on signings. It's going to be empty. We're going to create one now. So at the top here where it says signings, you can click add, and you're going to name your signing. So this one was an offer, so I'm going to put offer on 18 mile, and you know what, I better put class. So I know this is not my real offer that is on mine. And then I'm going to hit save. Okay. Once you hit save, it's going to open up those folders now for your signing. Now, if you haven't used the app is very similar to this. So there is an Authentisign app, which is great. There's a Transaction Desk app, which is great. I've done both sitting in my car and changing addendums, adding addendums, doing offers. I don't have the best eyes, so it's not always the best for my phone, but an iPad, it's great too. So if you can go ahead and get those apps from your app store. So you'll notice here, first thing here is your magnifier on top left. It's going to tell you the name of it. In the center here, select add a document. You can click on it. If you go to the right here, you have a print option, download and save option. There's the back and next. If you forget to do something or you need to go out of here or you don't have time to finish, it's not a problem. When you hit back, it gives you an option to save. So you'll save wherever you left off. So if you look to the right here, these are the folders we're going to walk through. First one is signers. So we're going to add our signers first. And if you look here to the right, it'll say add participants right here underneath. So click on add participant. You can add yourself, you can add new, you can add from transaction or from contacts. Now, since we've done this in Transaction Desk, everything we need is in our folder. So all I'm going to do is click on add from transaction, and everything I need is right here. So now I can select my buyers and myself as a selling agent. Okay. If you want to include the listing agent, which should be myself, if you click on them, you can send them a copy when you're done. So you can hit CC only. So what that means is they're going to get a copy once it's completed. That's it. Now, here are your options. You can have them sign, which obviously the listing agent won't. You can have them review it, which I've seen agents do this when they sent me offers before. What the reviewer means is they're sending you the contract to review. You have to accept it, and then it will show that you received it. Now, the problem with reviewer is if I've included Mr. and Mrs. Buyer on this and myself, and I include the listing agent and reviewer, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, and myself will not see a signed copy until the listing agent reviews and accepts it. So it's good and it's bad. It's good because you know the agent saw it, but it's bad because you're not going to have a copy until they do. So I like to just CC only if I'm going to include the listing agent. You don't have to include them. Once it's done, you will get an email and you're able to download the PDF. You can also go back in Transaction Desk and it's all under your documents and you can download what you need. You can email from there, whatever you need to do. So a lot of times I won't include the listing agent and I'll just go in, download what I need, because I might include things in here that I don't want them, like my buyer agency might be in here. I don't need to give them that. I have wire fraud. They don't need that. So I have things in my forms that I don't need to give them. So a lot of times I don't include them unless I'm dealing with a multiple offer situation and I'm on a time crunch, then I will include them. And sometimes at that point, I'll do 2 separate signings where everything I want the listing agent to get is in one, and I'll include another one without the stuff that they need. So again, there's multiple options, but if you want to include them, which is myself, and you are welcome to add me on there and you want to send these later just to test it, you are welcome to do that. So, but if you want to include them, go ahead. So I'll just leave mine on for now. You can set a signing order. So right now, the way it's set up is it automatically sends the contracts to everyone except the person you're CCing all at the same time. So I can send this out right now and it'll go to Mr. and Mrs. Buyer and myself, and we can all sign. Now, when I'm dealing with a time crunch, I always do that. Now, if I don't have a time crunch, I like to set my signing order. And the reason being is that I can double check my work and double check that I didn't miss something. So if I do my signing order here, now I can add the participant. Whoops, hang on a second. Sorry, cancel. I can add my participants. Whoops, they're right here. I can move this. There it goes. Okay, I have to select first. I apologize. Then I can, for my signing order, now I can move them. My chat box is on the side here, so it's covering things. So once I have my set signing order here, once you select, they're in here. Now I can hit set signing order. Now I can move them around. So I like to have Mr. Buyer first, Mrs. Buyer after, and then myself. So now I know that Mr. and Mrs. Buyer signed. I can make sure I didn't miss anything, and then I can sign. Okay, so once you have your signers in, the next is going to be your docs. So if you click to the right here, it says docs, you're going to add your doc here, or you can just click in the center. It's going to open up your transaction. I had an agent call on tech support yesterday. I felt horrible because she has not been able to figure out how to add her forms. So she has been creating her forms in Transaction Desk, saving them, printing them, uploading them back, scanning and uploading them back into her desktop or her PC, then coming in here and uploading her documents from here. I felt horrible. It's taken her so much time because she was having problems with this. You don't need to do that. Right from here, you can find what you need. Now you actually have an option to upload as well. If there's something you're missing, you can click here to drag and drop it. And you can also open up your other files, which are all the files you have in here with your other forms, you know, your transaction folder and everything is in here. But if you click on my transaction, they're right here. So everything we've done so far is right here. So I can click on my buy and sell agreement, disclosure regarding agency. And if you want to include something else, you can, but I do want to include my disclosures for at the bottom right here. So I'm going to include actually I want this seller's disclosure because this one was filled out. I want this and my lead-based paint. Actually, I don't need this one because I'm thinking of my listing and we're on the sale part of it. But anyways, so I have those all added. If you notice in the back, they were dropping right here on my page. So I'm going to hit close, and it's going to create just one big folder or one file with everything in it. So everything I've done to this point. If you add something and decide you don't need it, or you have double, or for some reason, you can remove it. So you can see here, it looks like I've got double, so a few things here. So let me remove disclosure regarding agency. Looks like I have it in here twice. So let's remove one of these. One is my first one here. Doesn't include wire fraud. So I'm going to come up over here on the right. I'm going to click on it, and you can see you can remove file. All right, so I just moved my double. My seller's disclosure statement. Let's see if that's in here. Lead-based paint, seller's disclosure statement. It's already filled out. And then that's it. So everything else I need is in here. Perfect. So now we're going to add in our signatures. Now, the system has layouts. And what the layouts are is they're set up already with boxes. You'll notice mine are. Some of the forms already know where to put the initials and the signatures. And these were either done by, these were defaults done by the system, or they were done by your office. You can do these yourself as well. So if you notice, mine have them already in here. Huge time saver, because I'm going to walk through right now adding these, so you're going to see how much time it's going to take. But right now, if you add yours in exactly where you need them, you can save it, and that way you can use it for next time. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually go to Tools here on the right side of your screen, and then you're going to drag these over. But you know what? Before you do, let's see if you have, in case you have a layout, let's just make sure that we add yours in. So if you go back to Docs, if you click each one of these, it will tell you if there is layout. So if you go here under layouts, I can hit map signers, and it will show me what boxes it has set up. So this already has some in here set up. So I can assign right from here. I'm not going to do it again because it's going to drop it over my other boxes and I won't be able to assign, because if you have 2 boxes on top of each other, you can't get to the other one underneath. So, and it causes an issue. So I'm not going to do it. But if yours are not showing up and you see this, go ahead and set those in there. I'm going to close it out. But I can do this for each form. So if I go to my agency, and if that one is not filled out, which I don't think this one is, it's not, I can now see if there's a way to map those signers in, if there's an actual layout. And there is. I can assign signature blocks. And let's see if any can pull up. That one doesn't have it. So let's see if there is another one. If you click on this box, it will find all the layouts for you. So I'm going to see if there's another one for seller's disclosure, because that one did not give me anything. It's disclosure regarding agency. So let's try one of these. Not that I named it though. Here it is. Let's see. Maybe it's this one. Map signers. Let's see. Let's try this one. Hopefully this one works. Nope, that one wasn't set up either. So I thought there was one in here that was set up. So for some reason, this one's not. But anyways, if it does have it, you can click on it. You'll see the boxes pop up. So this one, I'm going to actually be adding them in. But you can do this for each one individually. Okay, so I am going to close this out for right now. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to my tools. So let's go through tools. I want to walk you through all your options in here. So we'll start off on the first page here, and I'm going to go through. So this drop-down menu will have all of your signers. You have to make sure you have a box pulled for either initials or signatures by each one of your signers. If you don't, and you have them as a signer, it won't let you move forward. So that means you need to switch them. So you'll have to go back to your contact, which I'll show you after, and you can adjust them to reviewer or just CC them. All right, so I'm going to start off with Mr. Buyer here. And one of the things I have an option for, which is great, is multiple initial. So it's initial pages is what it says. So that means I can put multiple boxes for my initials on multiple pages all at once. So if I select initial pages and I want to, let's do large boxes so you can see the ones that are being added, because these ones are kind of small. And where do I want these aligned? So we'll just leave them on the left, even though they go to the right. So I would really put, or you could put center, but I'll leave them on the left. I want them at the bottom of my document. Who are initialing these boxes? So I want Mr. Buyer and Mrs. Buyer. And then what pages and contracts? So I want them on the buy and sell agreement. And I think my 5th page needs it too. Yes, it does. So I want all 5 pages. And I'm going to hit place initials. And here, let me move this so you can see. Once you hit that, there they are. So you can see it just dropped in. These are really nice. Now, it doesn't always put them exactly where you need them, but that's not a problem. Once you have them here, you can left click and move them wherever you need them. You can click on a box and you can resize them. So like my initial box is here. If I click on it, you can see here you've got a scale. So I can move this up or down, make it as big or small as I want. You can make it required, or I can make it optional by unchecking this. So if you make it optional though, they can completely bypass it. So be careful if it's something you need initials, make sure it stays required. And then these items, name, block, date, stamp, timestamp, you would use for signatures, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so that was for both of them on my buy and sell agreement. So I'm going to go back to, I'm going to close it out, go back to my tools. So to drag these over, let's go over to disclosure regarding agency, because this one is missing. A couple things. I forgot to put my X to say that I am a buyer's agent. So who do I want to select this? So I'll just leave it under Mr. Buyer. And then I can actually just put initial, where is it at? Checkbox right here. You're going to drag it, buyer's agent, put it there. So when it gets to Mr. Buyer, he's going to click on it and it's going to make it an X. Again, I can click on this and I can make it larger, bigger X, and it is required. Okay. Next thing we have in here, we want to do our initials and signatures. So first signer is myself as the agent. So I'm going to go back up here to my drop-down menu. I'm going to select myself. I'm going to left click and drag over my signature line. And I'm going to move my, it gives you an automatic date stamp. What this does is once my client clicks on their box, the date goes in automatically. So whatever date it is. So if they don't sign till tomorrow, that's the date that's going to show. I need to add now my buyers. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Buyer first. I'm going to left click and drag over his signature. I'm going to move his date over here on the left. All I'm doing, again, left click, dragging back and forth wherever I need it. He is my buyer, and again, my box is not checkmarked, so if I want to include it with him, I can, or I might want to just include it for myself to click on, so he doesn't have to keep clicking on so many. So I can go ahead and do a checkbox right here and put it under buyer. That's the first one. And then I could do another checkbox and do it under my second buyer. There we go. And then after I'm done with Mr. Buyer, I'm going to go to Mrs. Buyer. We're going to move her signature over here. We're going to move that date over here, and it's good to go. Okay. Let's see what else we have in here I can show you. So we are now going to do a few other things here. So they have initial choices. Let's go to our lead-based paint. So under lead-based paint, they have an option. Do they want to do a lead-based paint inspection, or do they not? I went ahead and clicked on my lead-based paint addendum, my layout. So it already dropped them in here for me. And you can see here, I have their initials already in here for both. And then I have just Mr. Buyer in here that he can put his initials in one or the other. But here's a couple options you can do. So they can either you could do a checkbox, but then you have to know what their choice is, or you can have them do initial choice. So this is Mrs. Buyer. You see two pop up. I can put one by each of hers, and then she has an option, one or the other. So I'm going to move this out of here, actually. I'm going to drop her in here because I want her to have a choice of which one she wants to do. Okay. The other option you have is this radio button. So if I just want to put a dot in there for their selection, I can put the radio button. You can see there's two. I'm going to leave both of these in here so you can see how they work. I'll drop those in, and I'm going to change those actually. If I click on those, I'm going to change it from Mrs. Buyer to Mr. Buyer. We're going to make those his. So he'll select those, she'll initial, just so you can see the difference of the two. Okay, so we've done our signing, our initials, text line. So when you get to this point, these are PDFs. I can't make any more changes at this point. I have to type in other items. I actually have to go in and pull those text lines in. So I'm going to go ahead and say, we're going to go back over to our other terms and condition and say I forgot to add something. Maybe I forgot to add appliances, and I need to add those in. So if I need to add something else in here, I can drop that in by just clicking on a text line. You click in your box here. Oops, click. Oops, let me delete these actually. So these text lines that I'm clicking on actually are for your client to fill in. So if you need them to fill something out, use these. I'm sorry, I want to use text box is what I want to use. So I'm going to click on the page. I'm going to click in my box, and now I can type in what I need to. Because if I'm sending this to my client to sign, I don't want him filling it out. I want to fill in what I need so he doesn't realize I forgot to put it in. So let's put in here that our generator is included with 0 value. Okay, so I forgot to add the generator that they are leaving. So we're going to drop that there, make it a little bit bigger or smaller. Left click, drag this over wherever I want. Now it looks way off because obviously this is really big and my text is a lot smaller. So I usually try to match it up. So I'll try to drop it down, and I try to look to see. So it looks like, you know, that could probably be about a 12 point. And then I am going to make it bold. I'm going to make it transparent, so I don't want it covering anything. And if I want to try, I can always try times Roman to see. Yeah, that looks more like it. And actually now I need to make it bigger since I went down 2 times Roman. So it matches up the same size. So that looks good right there. So I'll drop that in there, and we should be good. So now I've included everything that I needed to. So again, that's the text box under markup. So that means I'm filling this out myself. This text line I use sometimes for my listing side because there's areas like where they have to add their social security number, they might have to add their birth date or something I may not have. I can add this in, and each one of my buyers can add it in themselves. Okay, so that is our text box. Let's see, we did initial pages, we did radio choice, we did initial choice. Drop down is, it allows you to put in a drop down menu somewhere where your client has an option. Quite honestly, I'm not sure what I would use this on. I've never actually needed to use it on anything, but if they have multiple options, you want to put it in here, click on drop down, it drops this in here. And then you can type in here what the text will say, and then you actually type in what it is, what the actual option will say, so what the wording is going to be, so then they can select it. I haven't, again, found a contract that I've needed to use this, but you never know. There might be a day you do need it. Okay, and if you go through here and say you're missing like auto dates, auto times, you can always drop those in here. Those are down here. If you're missing their full name, which actually under seller's disclosure statement, I believe those are, let's see right here. So I don't have their names typed in here. So if I want to include those, I can go under full name. So I'm under Mrs. Buyer, drag it. It will go right underneath. I can click on it and I can make it bigger or smaller. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller just to fit in that area. And I can run it just right underneath here. And then if I want to include Mr. Byers, I got to go back to him. And I'm going to take his full name right down here. I'm going to move that. Actually, before I do, I'm going to make it smaller. And then I'm going to move it over here under his name, signature line. There we go. Okay, perfect. So now we have all their names, their signatures. Let's see, we showed you how to do all of this. Markups. Let's look at the markup tools real quick, and then we can send the signing over. So if you need to mark things up here, so best time I would say I use this is if it's my listing and we're doing a counter offer, I might be coming in here and doing it right from here. So again, you've got your text box, which I showed you, your highlight tool, if you need to highlight something in here. So they see that I've done the change, you can, or something that I want to make sure that they realize that, you know, whatever it might be. So say I want to highlight the possession so they know. So this is going to, oops, see it? Huh, why is my highlight tool not working? Let's try this again. There it goes. I was going to say it didn't look right. Okay, so you're going to left click and drag it whatever way you want. Once you have it done, you're going to click on it. It's yellow. Now, if you see, this opacity is very, very dark, so it's really hard to see. So I try to get into a much lighter shading because, again, this is not going to print well. So I don't even know if I would do this shading on it for my highlight tool. Maybe if we did like a light gray, a little bit easier to read. But yeah, it just makes it hard when it gets to your client. Even the white is just, I think that I probably wouldn't keep this highlighted, but that's just me. Line tool. If you need to draw a line through something, you can do it again here. Again, these are the same markup tools we saw earlier. So the only thing again with a line is that it's better for an X. You can do it for a straight line if you wanted to. And then if you click on it, get to it, it makes it a little touchy here. I can make it as thick as you want. I can make it whatever color you want. Okay. And then go back to your tools, your strike through, which I showed you earlier. I need to strike through something. Again, it's going to click on it again, move it up and down, and you can change it obviously to whatever color, whatever you want to do to it. Okay, and then go back. You have your highlight tool, which we did, your freehand. I don't like the freehand tool. I am not really good with freehand because you can draw a line, but the problem is it's not going to straighten out for you. So unless you're really good, you're an engineer or something that can do this, it looks like a 5-year-old just drew on my page. So I typically don't like to do the freehand tool. I stay away from it, but you do have the option. So that's a freehand tool. Again, you can adjust the thickness, change the color, whatever you want to do to it. And then you also have this ellipse. It actually draws a circle around something. So if you want to highlight something on here, you can. Let's see if there's something important. This is a disaster. I would never send this to my client. This is like, I would probably go back in and redo all this before I would be sending this to them. But let's see here. Say I'm going to just highlight the deposit. So this will just basically put a circle around it. That's all it's doing. Okay. That is all of our tools. So we are just played with every tool that's in here. So this is everything that we've done. Before we send this, I want to show you the layouts. So your layouts are right under tools on the right. And here are your layout options. You can apply a layout. So if I hit apply a layout, it's going to show you the layouts that you have and what documents are seeing that matches it. If they're not correct, you can always come in here and change these and look for whatever one it is because it will have them all in here. So I'm just, I will find the seller's disclosure that I did. I know it's in here. I just don't know what I named it, of course. And so now I'm having a hard time figuring it out. But once you have them in here, you hit assign layouts and it drops those boxes. I already have them on here, so I don't want to do that. I'm going to hit close. But also under layout, if you've now put all your boxes exactly the way you want them, everything looks really nice and you're ready to go and you want to save this, you can. So you're going to go to layout, you're going to go to layout options, and you're going to create a layout. So now you're going to go to, it's going to show you the document names that you have. It's going to ask you to layout. So if there's one already for it and you don't want to use that layout name, you can put in here, which is what I should have did, is revise, so I know that I made the change, so then I can use that. And then you're just going to select create. So the next time you come in here, you will have the option to apply those boxes and not have to drag and drop them, just like I did, and have a big mess. Now, when you do a layout, it's not putting your markup tools, it should not be on there. It should be just your initials, your signatures, your auto dates, your auto times, and so forth. Those should be in there. The other thing that you can do in here, options, is you can change the signature. So I'm going to hit I do not accept. If you want to change your signature, once you create your signature once, it's already in here for you. So I have mine already done, so you'll see when I go through it, my same one will appear. I can change my signing name. I can change the expiration date on it. I can set an expiration date for them. The only time I've ever set an expiration date for a signing is if it's a multiple offer situation. If my client doesn't sign by a certain time, then we can't get it in. So I may set it at that point. Reminders, we used to have a much better reminder. We used to be able to send it every 15 minutes till they sign. I loved it. We must have had a lot of complaints because now it's only every day you can send it at a certain time. So, but I always do reminders. And Authentisign ID position, whenever you do a signing, it does a key code specific to your client. So wherever you want that to be located, you can change it. Automatically goes to your top default at the top left as a default. But if you'd rather have it at the bottom, we can drop to the bottom of your screen so you don't have to look at it. You know, it'll be there for you. Okay, and then clearing. I don't think you want to clear everything, but you can. You can clear your markup tools. You can clear your signing fields. We are done with filling everything out. So now we need to send this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next at the top. And it's going to process. It's going to ask you again, do you want to send a reminder, which I just set mine up, so I'm set. I like to customize my invites by changing the subject so they know what it is. So I'll put on here, team miles. When my client sees it and I see it, I know what it is. So a lot of times I'll do that. And we'll do it for each of them. And then I also can add in a message. If you want to type some type of message to your client, you can. I'm going to hit save. And I'm going to send this so we can walk through it. So I'm going to hit send. And we're going to go into email. So if you sent yours, you'll be able to go to your email to see it, or you can just watch mine. But I'm going to go back to my email. And let me go back here. It's letting me. Oh, and the thing I wanted to show you, one thing I didn't show you earlier, when I sent my client the seller's disclosure, you'll notice here under Transaction Desk, it tells me that my client actually viewed it and opened it, and tells me what day and time they did, so that we can keep track of it. Okay, so it looks like it's right here at the top. So I only have one, so I'm going to go to Mr. Buyer first, because remember we set that signing order. It's going to send this message to him. It's going to tell him that I've invited him to do an Authentisign e-signature. It's going to name the actual folder that I've named it, the offer and AT mile, and they're going to hit start signing. Give them a second to load. So it's going to ask them to accept the terms. So they're accepting that they are signing this as the person that is supposed to be signing it. So I'm going to hit I accept. You'll notice now they're going to have the same view that we do as we set up. They can zoom in now. Here in the center, it's going to tell them how many signature blocks there is. They can print and download it right from here, which I always suggest that they do this, because once they hit start, it's going to move those pages. So if they want to try to read through this, or want to have a printed copy in front as they go through it, they're welcome to. But you'll notice now, once I hit start, I just move the page. It highlights the areas that they need to click. So all they're doing, they're going to be clicking. Now, once they do the first one, it's going to ask them, what do you want to use for a signature? So they have three options. They can pick one of our fonts. And there's all these nice pretty fonts here, which gives them really nice, signatures and very legible signatures. Or they can actually do it themselves. So if they go to draw, you can use your mouse, they can use your finger, but if you go to here, it tells you, ask how thickness. So say I want it really thick. Do you want it? And you got the pen. And you're going to, you can see it gives you a pencil right away. You're going to left click and hold it. So I'm going to say Master. And I think I did loaded. It's not pretty. Not the easiest to do with the mouse. Junior. And then they want the initials. J. Okay, there it is. If they like it, they can keep it. If they want to try again, all they have to do is click on the X. It removes it, and they can do it again. So again, you know, they can try to. I always tell them, if you want, try it a couple times till you see if you get the way you want it. If it really looks like your signature. And then I've got a touch screen, so I can actually clear it, and I can do it with my finger on my laptop, which sometimes looks a little better. Not, who knows? Okay, if they like it, they can remember this signature for future signings. They can set this as a signature, and it's going to give them that signature. So you can see it went in here. So as I click on these, it's putting them all in. And again, you can see how fast this is moving. So I'm just going to kind of whip through this. That wasn't even in the right spot. There's their X. I mean, it bypasses some completely. So they can accept this. They've received copies. They accept that they received the pamphlet. Now, do they want 10 days to do a lead-based paint inspection, or do they want to waive it? So if I do yes, they want it, then that's fine. But if they click they don't want it, then it removes the first one. So it only gives them one choice. Click again, and that's it. So, and again, at the top, you can see it just continues showing what the progress is. So I'm going to complete my signing. And I'm done. So first one is done. I'm going to kind of whip through the next really quick because I want to make sure I have time for other things for you. So go back to my box. It will tell me in my inbox that my document was accepted on 18 Bob by Mr. Loaded. He's already signed. So he's done. So that means now I should get another one for Mrs. Loaded, I believe I put, or something, whatever I named her. And I'm just going to kind of whip through this one pretty quick. So I'm going to accept. And 016. So now I'm going to hit start. I must have her signature already in here. Oh no, there it is. Okay. So I can just pick something pretty for her, which is probably what I would do. So I just feel like it's much easier to read it. Set signature. There it is. And now she's going to continue clicking. And you can see how quick this goes. I mean, and they can do this within a couple minutes if they don't need to read through it. We already reviewed it with them. It goes pretty fast. So now she has an option. Does she want to do a 10-day inspection, or does she want to waive it, which we're going to waive it. She's here and she's done. Complete signing. She's done. Now I can go back into my email, and it tells me that now Mrs. Spends It All is right here. She signed. She's good to go. Okay. So then I will get my last one, which is myself. Start my signing. Mine is only, I think, maybe one. I don't think there's much. Oh, there's 5. I accept and hit start. Now I have my signature in here, so it saved it. I add in their X's to show their buyers. Accept and done. Perfect. And I'm done. So now, once it's completed, it's going to go a couple places. So here's the offer update. It's been signed by me. And it's been completed. So now that it's completed, they can download a copy right from here. So click on here. It actually downloads a copy for them. They can also find it in their documents in Transaction Desk as well. So right here's my PDF. I'll show it to you really quick. So it opens up, and then I'll show you in Transaction Desk where to find it. So here it is, and you can see all my initials, signatures. The disaster of an offer is here with all the lines and highlights and redact tools and everything else I did. So it's a little crazy, but everything is here that I did. So if I go back into, close this out, let's go back to our transaction desk, and I might have to refresh this, but let's go under documents. Let's see if they're there. There it is. So it creates a folder for you. So every time you do a signing, a folder will drop in under documents. You'll see the date and time it was done and whatever you named it. And here it is. And it's going to include all your signing pages, but also your certificates are in another folder. So those are the authentication by Authentisign, saying that these people have authenticated, so that they are who they are, you know, when they signed. So the nice thing about this, again, like I explained earlier, if you don't want to send that offer automatically, which I usually don't do, I can now just come in here and pull what I need to send them. So if I had other things, I don't have to include them. But right from here, you can go to these lines and you can actually download and preview them, but everything you need is in here. And that's it. So our signing is done. So you can get it in your email. You can find it in here under Transaction Desk under Documents. You can actually find it now if you go to your signing folder. If you go to your signing folder, if you click on that transaction, you can see also who signed. And that's another thing. If you are waiting and it hasn't gotten back to you for some reason, you can come in here and see who's authenticated, who's been approved. If they have not approved it or signed it, sometimes they open it, they don't complete it, and you don't see a check mark, they have to do it again. So if it's not getting to you for some reason, that's why. If it's still not signed, someone's missing a signature, you can always resend this. If you go to more, which I can't hear, it will give you an option to resend to the people that have not signed yet. So that's your other option. All right, so that is it. And again, you can always reset this. So if there's something you find is incorrect, you can come back in here. There's a reset button. It removes the signatures and then allows you to go back in and redo your signatures or go back and change the document or whatever you need to. So, all right, I'm going to close this out and we are done. So we have gone through everything in Transaction Desk and Authentisign doing an actual transaction. But I want to show you your shortcuts real quick and your templates and clauses. So let's go to that. Alrighty, I just want to double check I didn't miss any questions. Nope, looks like we're good. All right, so if you go to the left side of your screen, let's go in there. And again, dashboard will take you back to your main page, but we're going to go down over, let me show you what each of these are. We did transactions, shows all your transactions in here. If you go to the pen, which are all your signings, so they're all in here as well. If you go down to your forms, you can come in here and find your forms. So whatever form you need, you can find just an individual form right from here. Your documents, these are going to be all your transactions are in here. And again, documents are going to be anything that's a PDF. So anything that's uploaded into the system will be in your documents. When you complete a signing, it becomes a PDF. Those go in your documents. You go back to your calendar here as well. Those are your tasks. Again, these are already set up for my office to do them, so I'm not going to mess with these, but you can see that they actually mark off what is still needed for transactions. On my contacts, here's my address book. So every time I create a contact in here, it saves. I go back to here, clauses. Okay, let's go to clauses real quick so I can show you how to do these. So you're going to go clauses, personal clauses. These are the only place where you can add and adjust the ones that you have. So if you don't have any, it's no problem. You're going to hit add and plus sign to the right here, add new clause. You're going to name it. So for example, if I'm doing one for appliances, I'm going to name it appliances, and you're going to type in the exact wording you want. So all appliances are included, or refrigerator, stove, oven, range, microwave, whatever is included. You might want to add zero value. Again, that helps a little bit with underwriting, and then save it. Hit close. Then it brings it here. If you ever need to adjust it, you can come back in here and edit, and now I can make any adjustments to my wording as I want. Okay, that's your clauses. So I'm going to go back to home. If your office or system has clauses, you can view these, but you can't change them. And if you go back to the left side of your screen, I want to show you templates real quick, and then we will be all set. So under templates, you go to transaction templates. And you'll see any templates in here that are created. If they have two people on them, your office did them. If they're single person, they're ones you created at one time or another. You can always come back into yours and you can make adjustments to yours. You can always edit or delete them. To add new, you're going to go add. You're going to name it. Do a last test to show you. And let's say we're going to do a listing one. It's going to ask you type. So this is going to be a residential listing. You can put a description if you want, and you'll hit save. So the only thing that you really need in here, you can add more items, but the things that you need in here is you need to go all the way down to the forms, click the plus sign on the right, and then go through all your forms and select them. So you can go start off in your office ones, and I can put in there, I need my business arrangement, buy and sell agreement. I need my, say if I want to add my disclosure regarding agency and so forth. Once you're done, you can go ahead and add back to individual forms and then go down to my real source forms and grab your data sheet and so forth. do coming soon, add. So once you add them, it drops them here. You can see the double arrows. Now I can move them in order. So I have a buy and sell agreement, which I don't need for listing, obviously. So let's delete that one. I was just grabbing things to grab them. But again, you can go through and put them in, whatever order you want. And then when you're done, you're done. That's it. You don't have to hit another save. So once you add the forms in, you're good. And then when you go into starting a transaction, you'll have the option for the template. Alrighty, we actually are done. So if there is a question, I can answer right now. If you want to put your hand up, I'm happy to unmute you. If you want to send a chat or a question, you're welcome to do that as well. But please, if you have not downloaded those handouts, do that. If you can't do them right now or didn't get a chance or I closed this out too soon, you can always find those in Paragon. If you go to the very top of your screen and right next to Compose Email, there's MLS Documents. And you are going to go to the MIRS Education folder. So here's your MLS folder under Education. There are 88 handouts. So anything you need help with, they're broken down in sections. So for example, if I need more help with Transaction Desk, I can put Transaction Desk, hit enter, and it's going to pull, let's do this, I'm gonna just do, yeah. It's gonna pull everything as Transaction Desk. And again, they're smaller sections. So it explains to you a little bit here what it is, but like this is for a purchase agreement. This will take you through that step-by-step to creating a PA. Once you click on it, it creates a PDF for you on your desktop. Let's see, download one, here it is. And I will show you, these are really nice because they will give you step-by-step instructions and it does give you, try to do some type of a screenshot as well. So it will walk you through everything. All right, and that is it for the class. So I hope this was helpful. I don't see any questions. I don't see anyone's hands up. So hopefully you were able to keep up with this. I apologize if I went too fast. There's a lot of information. I try to get everything in for you. There's actually a lot that I didn't even get a chance to get into a lot more deeper, but hopefully this is enough to get you started. So make sure you play with it. And again, if you need more classes, please come back to as many as you need. And she will have, as soon as Debbie gets a chance to go through it, she will have this on our YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that way you can view any of our live webinars from there as well. So I hope everybody has a great day. Enjoy the sun, and I hope to see you again in a class. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a good one.